Hi everybody, I'm Michelle Fitzgerald with the Sensar Learning Center, and today I want to talk with you a little bit about plants and intuition and subtle energies. How you can use intuition and subtle energies to help your plants thrive and probably live a lot longer too. I want to begin today by introducing you to a very old friend of mine. His name is Phylos, and he's a 44-year-old philodendron. Now that's a very long time for a houseplant to live, and I think that the reason for his longevity, he's not only lived a long time, but he's very healthy and a very, very happy plant. I think the reason for his longevity and his health and happiness are largely a result of some of the things I'm going to talk about today. It's spring here, or just spring has just arrived in Sedona. It's only March 11th and spring is already here. And I'm sure that spring is just around the corner for you wherever you live. So this is a great time to be talking about plants and how to help the plant, how to help the members of the plant kingdom. I met Phylos all those years ago when I was cleaning out the family kitchen. And he was, unbeknownst to me, there was a pot up on the refrigerator and it had what looked like a dead plant in it. I took it down to throw it outside, put it in the garden, and as I was dumping over the pot, I saw right near the root line just a probably quarter-inch speck of green. And oh my gosh, this plant is alive. And so I, broke off the dead bits and I took what was left and I put it in a new pot of dirt and it became Phylos. Phylos, it's just been a wonderful experience having him as part of my life all these years. I've traveled, lived in many different places, and he's moved with me to all the different places. But he's played a very integral role in helping me learn how to communicate with the plant kingdom. He communicates with me very readily, even long distance, like when I'm traveling clear across the globe, he can make contact with me. If I've got a housekeeper who has forgotten to water him, I might see a picture of Phylos. He'll communicate telepathically. I'll see a picture of Phylos in my inner vision, and I know that it's a call from Phylos and I need to check in. Either something's going on with him that he needs help with, or something else is going on in the home that I need to be alerted about. And sure enough, I find that the housekeeper's forgotten to water him or something else is going on, and I'm able to fix the problem. It's a pretty amazing thing. But he not only has helped me learn more about plant communication, he's really helped me learn a lot about how to, I've been able to work with him to really hone my intuitive capacity in dealing with plants and helping plants thrive, not just Phylos, but many, many plants, both, in homes and plants out in the forest, trees, bushes, you name it. And how to use subtle energy strategies to help the plants. I don't really know, after all these years, I still don't know that much about the normal things that people would do to help plants, like what type of plant food you should give them and all that type of thing. Basically, I give Phylos water. I rarely give him any kind of plant food, maybe once a year, once every 2 years, where I might give him a little something. But overall, he just thrives. And there are some, I think, energetic situations that really make that happen. It really begins, well, let me start with, it really begins, I think, with love. If you want your plants to really thrive, I think it begins with love and respect. That you, I think if the plant recognizes that you sincerely, emotionally care about the plant, recognize the plant as a spiritual being, an intelligent being with emotional capacity, and you show respect for that being, I think that acts almost like a type of food for the plants, and it helps them not only survive, but thrive in your environment, wherever it is that you're living. So that would be number one. Number two is we start to use intuition, and that is utilizing intuition to figure out the proper placement. Start with love. Second, really consider where the plant is located. As an example, when I first moved into this home, I transferred Phylos from my other house, and I didn't use intuition for this. I just logically thought the perfect place to put him would be in the kitchen, because there's this beautiful kitchen, there's this huge skylight, about 5 by 5 foot skylight in the ceiling. So it's like an atrium. It's just ideal. And I spend a lot of time in the kitchen, so I thought it'd be kind of nice to have him in there. But I put him in there, and you'd think that any plant would thrive in there. And I've had since then other plants in the kitchen that do very, very well in the kitchen, but Phylos did not. He did not like it. And it was evident. He didn't look as perky, his color was not as good, he just didn't like it. So what I did is I employed intuition, which I should have done in the first place, and I got out my dowsing rod, and I just stood in the kitchen, and I used something called the show me technique. And I just held the rod, and I said, show me the optimal location for Phylos, where the optimal place would be to place him for his optimal health, well-being, and happiness. Where would that be? The perfect location for his optimal health, well-being, and happiness. And the rod pointed, right to I just followed slowly, took me right to this table. And I then moved Phylos to this table, and in fact, he began showing immediately. I mean, it was within days he began looking better. And he has not left this location. He's been in, that was about 14 and a half years ago, and that's how long he's been on this table. 14 and a half years minus a month, the month that he was in the kitchen. So, but you know, I could have guessed that just logically. Okay, this is not the greatest spot. And I could have thought maybe he needs more light. Maybe he needs more, who knows what. Maybe it's too hot in the kitchen. But I would have had to experiment with different locations, and that takes time. With intuition, you can find very quickly where the optimal location is. And that's exactly what happened with Phylos. You can do this with any type of plant. You should do this with all your plants. When you're doing new planting outside, like you're planting a tree or a bush, or you're even planting flowers, it can be very, very helpful to just create a scale in your mind or on paper of 1 to 10. And 10 will be, this is an optimal score. If the location that you're thinking of planting the tree is an optimal location for the tree's health, well-being, and happiness, that will be a 10. 5 will be, I'm just defining the scale. 5 will be no harm, no gain. It won't, hurt the plant. It's not going to really contribute to the plant thriving. Location, the location isn't, but it's not going to hurt the plant. And anything under 5 is actually going to be harmful to the plant. And so you can think of whether it's a tree or a bush or flowers or whatever, you can just do scale dowsing and douse on a scale of 1 to 10. You start with your rod at 5. And I'm thinking of putting the tree in this location. How does this location douse as in regards to the tree's health and well-being? How beneficial will it be? And let's say you get an 8, I'd go ahead and plant the tree. This would be an 8. Let's say you get a 4, I wouldn't plant the tree there. I would not plant the tree there, because the tree's going to be having to work double duty to survive in that spot. So be kind to your trees, respect them and your plants and your flowers, and out the gate you're giving them an edge to thriving and surviving and longevity in their time with you. So number 1 again is love and respect. I'll bundle those. Number 2 is placement and where you place the plant. Number 3 is orientation. When I put Phylos here, I just didn't plunk him down and leave him without any other consideration. All plants have a way that they like, a position or a direction that they like to be oriented. There's a lot of subtle energies in environments. There's a lot of other considerations, light, heat, all those types of things. But plants like to face a certain way. And the tricky part is kind of like a human. If we say, well, I want to face the sun, we know where our face is, right? And we turn in this particular direction. But how do you know where the face of a plant is? Well, what you do is you just take, this is what I do with Phylos, you just take the pot of the plant, and you just hold your dowsing rod, and you just use this instruction to your intuitive system. When I'm going to turn the pot, and that's what I do with Phylos, I just started turning the pot, and when Phylos is in the perfect position, perfectly oriented for his optimal health, well-being, and happiness, give me a yes. This is my yes response with the dowsing rod. This is my no response. And so I just simply rotated the pot with one hand and held the rod with the other hand until I got a yes response. And that's how Phylos got oriented. That's how I chose his orientation, and it remains the same to this day. Now, periodically I do check it, you know, especially if he's looking like he's having any trouble. He looks vibrantly healthy, just like you see him now, 99.5% of the time. But there have been times over the course of 44 years where he's had ups and downs with his health and well-being. And if I notice that he's not looking as perky, I will check, is this still a good location for him? Is this still the best orientation for him? And you would want to do that too. So again, you can do that with any plant inside. Once the plant is already planted outside, like you've got a big tree that's already rooted and all that, no, you're not going to be able to reorient the tree. But if you're planting a new tree or you're planting fresh flowers, it's very, very easy to do that exercise with any plant before you make the final decision of how the plant is going to be positioned in the hole. So love and respect, placement, location, orientation. And the third thing would be to consider just, you know, to start your education, let's say, and your gathering of information that you're going to eventually create for yourself, just kind of a checklist. Like this is my plant, called my plant checkup list. And it's got all kinds of categories that I've learned over the years you need to consider when considering plant health and well-being. So for example, on here there are simple things like hydration really affects plants, pH balance of the soil affects plants, nutrition affects the plants, parasites or bacteria, molds, those types of funguses, those types of things, diseases can affect plants, noxious energies in the environment. There's all kinds of invisible energies in environments, everything from naturally occurring energies that come and go or that can be very consistent to human energies that are left in this space that can influence the plant. So things like this, emotional energies, emotional issues can affect plants. A lot of people don't realize that. I've seen many plants killed by emotional energies, either by their own emotional energies becoming overwhelming and causing them to stop thriving because they have some kind of emotional issue that needs to be dealt with, or more often than not, what I see is imprints of human emotions on plants that can actually kill them. So it's pretty interesting. But anyway, over time you will learn, you can learn if you start paying attention and just getting more training, those types of things. But you start developing in your mind or on a list, a formal list, those things that you should consider when there is a health issue with your plant. And when your plant isn't looking great, when it's just not looking as perky and peppy and happy as it should be looking, you take your little plant checklist and you use dowsing, you use intuitive skills, and you just douse all the possibilities until you find what is going on with that plant. From there, you can use either physical treatments, if that, again, you can douse. Okay, let's say I get that the plant has some type of emotional issue or some kind of energetic imbalance or even some kind of physical disease developing. What do I need to treat? What's the best treatment for the plant for the fastest, fullest, best recovery of my plant? Well, I'm going to share with you some examples of real life examples of things I've done with Phylos over the years. There was a time. Yeah, he's been in good shape, like I said, most of the time, 99.5% of the time. But there was a time where he just started looking really ratty. He started having, leaves dying way more than normal. I mean, leaves will always dry up periodically and die, and that's kind of how a plant will refresh itself. But this was abnormal, and so I checked my plant checklist, and I got that there was some kind of energetic imbalance with him, with his energy system, and from there I needed to figure out, well, what is it that he needs? Well, just like with a human, is it something physical? Do I need to give him some type of food or something like that? The answer was no. Again, I'm using dowsing, yes, no, or muscle testing, like you've seen me do. I've got a free, if you don't know how to do this, there are free dowsing lessons on my website. The website address is right here on this screen. And I think there's lots of free videos. I think there are even some basic instructional videos in my YouTube channel, so you can check there too. But anyway, the long and the short of it is that there's all kinds of possibilities. There's things, if you've got an energetic imbalance, you might be able to balance that with with some kind of physical thing like a vitamin or a mineral. It might be some kind of energetic thing like a color. It could be an element. It could be adding a metal in physical or energetic form. In this case, I used something, just my basic inner visioning skills. And I said, let me see what Phylos needs to balance this energetic situation, this energetic imbalance. And I instantly saw a piece, I'm holding one now, of rose quartz. And I again dowsed, so he needs, douse using the rod. I think I was using finger dowsing at the time, but let's just say using the rod, I got, yes, rose quartz is what he needs. So from there, I just had to figure out, well, I had to get a piece of rose quartz and I had to figure out, what do I do with it? Do I, put it down on the table in front of him? Do I only need one piece of rose quartz would be another question. What do I do? Well, the answer was I should put it in his pot, which I did. And in short order, and I mean within days, Phylos started looking better. And within a couple of weeks, he was perfectly fine. I was able to remove the quartz, and that was the end of that. So that's an example of a type of subtle energy treatment where there's something wrong with the plant, and it could be a physical thing. You might douse that it's physical or intuit that it's physical. It might be an energetic thing, and it ends up that you can treat it. Not in all situations, but in this situation with Phylos, I was able to treat it with the frequency of a particular stone. I've done that with humans and animals for decades of, employing a particular stone by putting it on their person or putting it in their pocket, putting it under their pillow for a period of time, and the frequency impacts an energetic change that impacts the physical well-being of the vessel that the little spiritual being is occupying. So that's an example of one thing. Something else that I use very frequently with plants and with animals and with humans is something called element applications. And I just have a periodic table of elements. This is just a chart, a periodic table of the elements. I always have this available because it's so useful. And you can just douse, okay, I've used this on several occasions with Phylos over the 44 years, and where he's not looking as good, or something is, he's really looking badly, something like that. And I'll douse, would element applications be effective? And I'll get a yes. And I'll just say, okay, what does he need? And let's say I get, this is just an example, let's say I get iron, Fe, stands for iron on the periodic table. My next question, my next intuitive question or dowsing question is going to be, well, does he need iron physically? Because that might be what he needs, is an ingestion of iron into his soil. That's a known thing that plants periodically need. And it could be, yes, he needs iron physically, but interestingly with Phylos, it's every time I've ever had to do an element application, it's been he needs it energetically. And so how do you do that? Well, you just write the name of the element on a little piece of paper and the atomic number and the atomic weight, and you tape like a little flag, tape it to a little stick and put it in the pot and watch what happens. And with Phylos, he's had numerous occasions where he's recovered with that type of what I call elementary treatment. I used similar treatments on myself quite often to keep my whole energetic system in top order. So using the subtle energy applications of the elements, using things like stones. Some of you, if you've been following my work for any length of time, you've heard me, I'm sure, mention the Dinshaw color therapy system. I've treated Phylos with Dinshaw color tonations, colored light, focused for a certain length of time at a certain area of his aura, pointing a certain way, and that has helped him recover. So again, the good news story is that he's 44 years old. He's probably actually older than that because I don't know how old he was when I found him. No signs of checking out, so I anticipate he's going to live for quite a few more years and be very happy living with me wherever I might be. And I've just shared with you a number of techniques that you could take and use with your own plants to help them be healthier and live longer, just like Phylos. Now, if you have found this interesting today and want to dive deeper, because I've only just nipped the surface of this today, I've got a fantastic workshop on my website in the I think it's in the help. Go to the main homepage of the website, and in the column on the left, the menu bar, you'll see helping plants. And if you click that, you'll be taken immediately to a 6-hour workshop that is available called Subtle Energy. Let's see if I've got the name. Subtle Energy Secrets to Blissfully Happy Plants. And that's really the whole tamale. It's learning how to, what are the common noxious energy situations that can cause plants to get sick or not thrive, and how do you treat those situations? How do you deal with pest problems without using pesticides? How do you deal with emotional issues if that's what's happening with your plant? What do you do if spirit attachments, which I've also seen, by the way, are killing your plant? That type of thing. Stuff that you'll never find in normal gardening books are in that workshop. So it's a great enhancement for anyone who, flat out, anyone who loves communicating and working with plants, whether you're, really a highly active gardener or not. You'd learn a lot in that particular program. So check it out if you have an interest. In the meantime, I highly encourage you to put what you learned today into immediate use and have the best growing season ever this spring and through the summer. Have the best, happiest, healthiest plants you've ever seen in your yard this year by employing some of these very, very simple strategies. I wish you a great spring, a happy summer, good balance to your year, and I'll see you next time.